Perfectionism has nothing to do with being perfect. It is about trying to be safe. Most people who call themselves perfectionists think it's a badge of honor, a sign of high standards. They are missing the point entirely. This idea is fiercely debated, pitting the hustle culture that celebrates relentless drive against the clinical evidence that links perfectionism to deep-seated pain. Where do you stand? By the end of this, the pride you feel in being a perfectionist might feel more like a scar. Our culture loves a perfectionist. We build monuments to them. We celebrate the founder who obsesses over every pixel, the musician who practices for 18 hours straight, the chef who would rather throw out an entire service than plate a dish with a single flaw. This is the engine of excellence, we are told. It is what separates the good from the truly great. It is the force that gives us breathtaking art, life-saving technology, and scientific theories that stand the test of time. In a job interview, calling yourself a perfectionist is the classic humble brag. It is a calculated way of framing a supposed weakness as an incredible strength. It implies diligence. It suggests an unwavering commitment to quality and an intolerance for mediocrity. The world, it seems, rewards this behavior handsomely. The products are better, the buildings are stronger, the discoveries are more precise. From this angle, perfectionism is a superpower. It is the relentless, disciplined pursuit of an ideal. It is a virtue. That sounds like a recipe for greatness. But what if the fuel for that engine is terror? The clinical view offers a darker, more complex origin story. It suggests that what we call perfectionism is often a sophisticated survival strategy learned in an unpredictable childhood. A child's brain is a prediction machine, constantly trying to figure out the rules of its environment to secure love and safety. If that environment is chaotic, critical, or emotionally barren, the child learns a devastating set of rules. Perhaps a parent's love is conditional, offered only after a flawless report card. Or maybe a caregiver is volatile, and the only way to avoid their anger is to be invisible, quiet, and perfect. The child may grow up in a home with addiction or mental illness, taking on the role of the good one to keep the fragile family system from collapsing. The lesson is drilled in through 1,000 tiny interactions. A 99 on a test prompts the question, what happened to the other 1%? Bringing home a second-place ribbon is met with a disappointed silence that feels louder than shouting. The child's brain logs these events as critical survival data. Mistakes are dangerous, flawlessness is safety, love is earned through performance. This gets wired in deep. It becomes an automatic, unconscious operating system that runs for the rest of their life. The nervous system itself learns one core directive: control the environment by controlling yourself. Perfectly. This creates an adult who is hypervigilant. They are constantly scanning their world for potential threats. A slightly critical tone in an email from their boss can ruin their entire day. A friend who cancels plans is interpreted as a personal rejection. Every minor imperfection feels like a signal of a looming catastrophe. They are always bracing for an impact that never quite comes. A skeptic might ask, can't someone just have high standards? Does every ambitious person have a hidden trauma? The distinction is the driving force. Healthy striving is pulled forward by a desire for growth, curiosity, and mastery. The motivation is positive. The person finds genuine joy and flow in the process itself. A setback is simply data, an opportunity to learn and recalibrate. Their fundamental sense of self-worth remains intact regardless of the outcome. Healthy striving feels like climbing a mountain for the view at the top. The climb is hard, but it's part of the adventure. Maladaptive perfectionism works differently. It is pushed from behind by a deep-seated fear of failure, judgment, and abandonment. The motivation is negative. The process is filled with anxiety, self-criticism, and a constant humming dread. There is no joy in the climb. The entire experience is about escaping the monster you believe is chasing you up the mountain. A failure is therefore catastrophic. It is interpreted as definitive proof of a fundamental worthlessness. Their self-esteem is completely fused to their performance. One mistake can shatter their entire identity. After completing a project, the healthy striver feels satisfaction and pride. The perfectionist feels only a fleeting moment of relief. Relief that they survived. Relief that they were not exposed as a fraud this time. That relief quickly evaporates, replaced by an empty feeling and a new, more difficult goal. The research here is overwhelmingly clear. This type of perfectionism is strongly linked with higher rates of chronic anxiety, severe depression, eating disorders, and obsessive compulsive disorder. The internal pressure is immense. That internal pressure creates a bizarre and painful side effect: chronic procrastination. It seems counterintuitive. How can someone obsessed with perfect performance fail to perform at all? The fear of producing anything less than a flawless result becomes so overwhelming that it leads to paralysis. The blank page is terrifying because it could be filled imperfectly. Starting the project means confronting the possibility of failure, which feels like a threat to their very survival. So it feels safer to do nothing at all. The dull anxiety of not starting is, for a time, less acute than the sharp terror of starting and failing. This is the perfectionist trap. The demand for flawlessness makes it impossible to begin. This paralysis then becomes more fuel for the internal critic. They berate themselves for procrastinating, which increases the pressure and shame, which makes it even harder to start. It's a self-perpetuating cycle of anxiety and shame, all driven by that same core fear of being judged as inadequate. The all or nothing thinking takes over. If I can't write the perfect opening chapter, I can't write the book. If I can't clean the entire house perfectly, I'll just live in the mess. The task grows in their mind until it feels completely insurmountable. The outside world only sees the missed deadline, the unfinished project, the broken promise. It doesn't see the brutal internal war that led to it. When the perfectionist does manage to overcome the paralysis and produce something, our culture often rushes to celebrate it. We admire the product. We rarely ask about the human cost of its production. We mythologize the suffering of the tortured artist or the relentless founder, framing their pain as a necessary, even romantic sacrifice for their genius. This reveals the core tension of the entire debate: the conflict between individual well-being and societal output. If a scientist's agonizing perfectionism, fueled by a lifetime of trying to earn an absent parent's approval, leads to a cure for a disease, was the suffering worth it? Who gets to make that call? The person in agony or the millions who benefit? This internal state also poisons relationships. The perfectionist's savage internal critic rarely stays internal. It gets projected onto others. They become hypercritical of partners, children, and colleagues, holding them to the same impossible standards. Or they might swing to the other extreme, fawning and people-pleasing to an exhausting degree, losing their own identity in the frantic effort to manage everyone else's perception of them. Both paths lead to profound isolation. At the heart of it all is the imposter syndrome. It's the logical conclusion of the original trauma. If you are taught from a young age that your true, authentic self is flawed and unacceptable, then any success you achieve must be the result of a trick. It must be fraudulent. You live in constant fear of being exposed. You believe the version of you that everyone seems to like and respect is a carefully constructed facade, a performance. And if anyone ever saw the real, messy, imperfect person underneath, they would be horrified and would abandon you. This is the central lie the trauma installed. So you must perform perfection forever. The exhaustion is immense because the finish line is a mirage. It is the if-then fallacy on a deadly loop. If I get this promotion, then I will finally feel secure. If my book becomes a bestseller, then I will finally feel worthy. If I achieve the perfect body, then I will finally be lovable. But the feeling of safety never arrives. The goal was never the problem. The problem is the internal alarm system that is stuck in the on position. Achieving the goal doesn't turn it off, it just finds a new, more demanding target. So where does this leave us? On one hand, the drive for flawlessness has given us some of humanity's greatest achievements. It builds safer bridges, creates more powerful art, and pushes the boundaries of knowledge. On the other hand, for the individual, it is often a gilded cage built from the pain of the past. It's a relentless internal critic that promises safety, but delivers only anxiety, burnout, and a profound sense of loneliness. It is a constant, exhausting performance for an audience that may no longer even exist. So what do you think? Is your perfectionism a tool you wield for greatness, or is it a ghost from your past that you're still desperately trying to appease? When you demand flawlessness from yourself, who are you really trying to prove your worth to?